Hello, fourth graders. This is a screencast to go over the different mountain ranges we talked about in class yesterday. So we're going to see some pictures and look at them a little bit more closely so we can remember to meet our goal of being able to compare and contrast these different mountains. So the first one up here are the Cascade Mountains. Remember, this is the ones that have the peaks that include volcanoes. They're part of a much larger group of volcanoes called the Ring of Fire. And most of the volcanoes are inactive, and that means that they don't erupt as much. Here's a chart that, before we get to the chart, here's a picture of some of these mountain ranges, and you can see where they have the little peaks right here, and even here they kind of really come up to those. There's lots of little peaks around there. Here's a chart that shows us how often those volcanoes erupted. This represents our current time right now, and this is the past. So you can see right away Mount St. Helens here in Washington has erupted the most. That's a lot of volcano eruptions, whereas Jefferson hasn't ever erupted, at least not in the last 4,000 years. And Mount Lassen is another recent one that has erupted. So this line right here represents 200 years ago, and this represents current time, and then the further left, the longer ago it was. This really gives us a good idea that these peaks or these volcanoes, these mountain ranges, run across California, Oregon, and Washington. That's a good thing to take note of as we compare the other mountain ranges to see what states they run through. So here's another picture that shows the potentially active volcanoes. So again, we have Mount Rainier, Washington, Oregon, and California. It shows you how these run up and down these western states. Here's Lassen Peak. It's another example of part of these mountain ranges, and it peaks up right up in here and right up in here. And you notice there's a little bit of snow, not a lot, but there's a little bit, and there's trees. And here is a graphic that shows you the Ring of Fire. So here's our country right here, North America. We're in California right here. And the Ring of Fire represents the volcanoes all along these lands, and you can see it makes a ring. That's why they call it the Ring of Fire. So all these red dots represent volcanoes that all along these coastal lines. The next range is the Sierra Nevada range, over 400 miles long and 40 to 80 miles wide. It's the source of many of California's rivers. What does source mean? Source means that it's the beginning of something. There's a lot of water in one place, and the water flows out of it, becoming different rivers. And it's home to giant sequoia trees and many plants and animals. So the Sierra Nevadas run mostly in California and a little bit in Nevada. Remember, the other mountain ranges ran from California, Oregon, and Washington. The Sierra Nevadas are located mostly in California and a little bit in Nevada. And here's a beautiful picture of the Sierra Nevadas. You have your water running right here. You have your beautiful sequoia trees. There's snow on the mountains. Very, very pretty. Another great picture of that. All these trees, and you know when you have a lot of trees, you're going to have a lot of plants and animal life. And again, look at all the snow, and the snow melts down and becomes a source for many of the rivers in California. So the coast ranges, remember, get little snow. There's warm in the summer. They run parallel to the Pacific Ocean, and they have occasional earthquakes and landslides. Now, we didn't see that in the other two mountain ranges. There was no mention of earthquakes and landslides. And here's a great picture that shows where the coast ranges are. So remember, we had the Sierra Nevadas run right here. The Cascades were running all the way up. And the coast ranges are primarily here in California, and they're along the coast. So you're going to see a lot of ocean. If you drive up 101, you'll drive along the coast, and you'll see those beautiful mountains. So those are the Pacific Coast Range Mountains. So here you go. Here's a great photo of it. You got it near water. Not a lot of snow. There's not a lot of snow on there at all. Little snow. So here's another great photo. This is like you would see in Santa Cruz, Monterey. You're near the ocean, and you're not going to see much snow at all on any of these mountains. So this graphic shows you in one picture where these coastal ranges are. So this is something you want to make sure you take note of, because this would be on a test. I would give you this blank piece of this blank map and ask you to say where the Sierra Nevada mountains are, where the coast ranges are, and then where the Cascade ranges would go. So it's important to know the Sierra Nevadas are California, closer to Nevada. Coast ranges run up along the coast of California, and the Cascade ranges run between California, Oregon, and Washington. Now what you're going to do is you're going to work with a partner and you're going to compare and contrast these mountain ranges. How are they alike and how are they different? And you're going to use a Venn diagram to help you. And here's a picture of it. They're located on the computer cart. What you're going to do when you get this paper is, of course, write your name. And then there's 3 lines here. So you're going to write each one of the mountain ranges on the line. So this one might be Sierra Nevada, this one might be Cascade, and this one might be Coast. And then on the outside, you're going to write how they're different. And then where they interlink is how you're going to write how they are the same. How they are the same. So an example might be for the Cascade range that have volcanoes, you might write volcanoes on the outside, because none of the other mountain ranges we discussed had volcanoes. And they all seem to have trees near around, so you might put trees in the center. So hopefully you've used a Venn diagram before. If not, talk to your partner, see what you can do to figure out how to use it. And again, the goal is to say how they are alike and how they are different.